It was privileged to me to hand over the mic to Radhika Garu, and she is presenting Jugaad innovation, a frozen and flexible approach to innovation for the 21st century by Navi, Jaideep and Simone. Welcome, Radhika.
Wonderful review so far. And before I delve into this book, I must very openly admit that this book is a wonderful journey of various case studies, because we have numerous cases that are given here in the Indian context and the emerging economies. It's not just Indian, they have taken cases from Latin America, Brazil, and all the emerging economies, China, because the book as such, as the word indicates, Jugaad. Jugaad is a very Indian word, it's a Punjabi word, and then it means a shortcut method to a very complex problem within the limited resources. So this is the premise on which the writers have taken up the concept, and imagine this is a kind of a book which is, I must admit, I must share with you, is not for everyone, because this book specifically caters to the decision makers of any organizations or any groups where, like my other reviewer was talking about, certain people coming and being as strategists. So this book is more specific. It has a very specific kind of audience. Of course, the kind of industries could be different. It also goes into non-profits. Anybody who's at the decision-making level, basically, can read this book and get benefited out of it. Now, I'll introduce you to the authors. The authors do share a very illustrious background. They are all basically connected to the Judge Business School, which is associated with University of Cambridge. Now, University of Cambridge happens because I was trying to find out, first of all, the authors must have had something in common even within their own careers to have made this beautiful masterpiece. I won't say a masterpiece as such, because I haven't yet compared it to the other strategic books, because there are other great strategists and blue ocean strategy, etc., and all those things in strategic management, to be able to comment on that. But I can say that definitely this has very insightful and very informative, elaborate examples about how companies are now taking up their decisions on the basis of limited resources, and how this can be taken up to the MNCs. This Jugaad thought process, they say, Jugaad as a philosophy, they say, they're trying to use this as a word. We say that Jugaad is something which is used by poor people. But the authors argue that this is not just about poor people or somebody wherein we're talking about the below the poverty line kind of situation. Jugaad has to be a concept. The authors, as I introduce them, first is Navi, Radjou. Navi Radjou is a strategist. He is also a speaker. He has been associated with the University of Cambridge, as I said, the Judge Business School, at the capacity of a fellow. And he also authored another book, which is From Smart to Wise. That book is mostly about next generation leadership. And also he has authored a few more books and other articles related to innovation and strategy. Jaideep Prabhu, the other author, second author, he is associated with the same business school at the capacity of a professor. His specialization happens to be marketing, and he is with many editorial boards of as a board member or a member of a journal of marketing and many senior journals and international journals of high academia. This person gives the insights, the academical insights as well as his real-time insights. He was also very interesting aspect about him to notice. His alma mater happens to be IIT Delhi. And he, of course, all these people have met there and then they have come up with this. The last person is Simone Ahuja. She has started a consultancy firm of her own and she's the founder of it in 2003 in Minneapolis. And that's called I'm sorry, just missed it. It's called Blood Orange. I understand that she's also a speaker with some of the prominent business schools, and she happens to be doing documentaries on most of these emerging economies and things like that. So she's also a very profound person. She has a doctorate herself. Now the culmination of these thinkers, these wonderful thinkers and profound thinkers, happen to be Jugaad. Jugaad, innovation, a frugal and flexible approach to innovation for the 21st century. We must note that this book has been in the market in 2012. So we must understand that there have been quite a few changes after that have come into the Indian scenario, with the governments that have come, with the kind of programs that have come in Make in India, etc., all those innovations that are eventually being encouraged. But the time when they have actually penned this book, one of the prominent personalities in India who's known for encouraging grassroots innovations in India, I'm sure you all must have already had his name on your mind, Professor Anil K. Gupta. He is with the IIM Ahmedabad and Anil K. Gupta. His name is Anil K. Gupta and Anil Kumar Gupta. And he had started the Honeybee Network, which actually connects people who are such innovators to the other stakeholders wherever is relevant, and he helps people patent their technology so that the indigenous technologies are not lost or not being stolen by anybody. So he's been doing a very phenomenal work in this field, and he's stellar. In fact, the kind of people whom he has encouraged, the kind of technologies that he has supported, they have started selling to other countries because of his help, thanks to his wonderful work. So these people have met this professor in 2009 before they started this work. So a lot of things have interesting points in this book. Now, like I said, we can go ahead with the kind of examples, but there are some examples that I really like because they made some principles out of this, the case studies that they have seen. So through the book, the authors want to communicate to the Indian audience that, not just Indian audience, actually it's not just for the Indian audience, it is sold in other countries also, the specific countries. What they want to drive at is, when there are people who have a resource crunch, when there is a major resource crunch and people are able to innovate even within those very serious limitations. For example, mitti cool. For example, the washing machine, small washing machine that has come out, washing machine that can go from one home to another. We are talking about very simple examples though, in different industries also, they quote all those. I'll go with it eventually. They're talking about how people have adapted themselves to the situations in order to cater or better themselves in their own lives, and how this has been helping many others in the society. It's just not about them, but how their innovation has actually been very helpful to the society at large. And this is the most beautiful point that they say. It's not just in India. Initially they thought they started with BRIC, the BRICS. Considering that this is a wonderful potential for them, market for them to understand how resources are limited and how they can study the businesses, how they are sustaining, how they are trying to compensate for a lot of things that they are not given. As we all know, the governments, the instability, and many other aspects are there. Now, they have, the foreword is given by none other than Ratan Tata, and the introduction is given by Sam Petrola. As you all know, these people are pioneering people in their fields for kind of innovations, and the word innovation definitely immediately records the names, these two names, initial names. So that way, it was very nice to see, look at the information that has flown into the book from prominent people in India. And chapterization wise, if you look at it, there are about 9 chapters. And the first one, they kind of introduce the concept as to why it is important at this point of time, at that point of time, why people should think Jugaad philosophy. They are trying to make this a philosophy. So, Jugaad innovation is the name of the book. So, you can say that Jugaad is a way of thinking. That is what they say. And eventually, they take it to the way of life, the way in which it is a strategy, and the way in which it can be Jugaad economies. So, you can see the way in which they have slowly taken up this concept from small to the larger aspect. That is exactly where I am talking about the strategy aspect. I did come across some people being very critical about the book, that they just say that, yeah, this is a lot of examples are given, we don't understand what they are talking about. We need to look at the bigger picture as to where the authors are trying to drive this at. So that is the reason why I said it's more for the decision makers and leaders. Of course, the philosophies that they have, the principles that they have given have been 6. So, my other reviewers, I need to refer the book, otherwise this is impossible for me to talk about it. So, philosophy 1 is seek opportunity in adversity. I'll just read out the philosophies as such, the principles as such, the principles as such. Principle 1 is seek opportunity in adversity. 2, do more with less. Principle 3, think and act flexibly. 4, keep it simple. 5, include the margin, and 6, follow your heart. I have taken a few examples just to make these simple looking principles driving. They start with the concept where, when September 11, 2001, when the attacks happened and how it has affected the US economy, they say that immediately the government or the kind of businesses did not look at the situation where there was a shift in structural shift in the consumer mindset. This is the very first chapter in which this one has been quoted. What they say is some of the Japanese and German, for example, in the automobile market, where General Motors and Ford were offering the kind of cars they have been offering, people were not looking at just that, but they were also looking at additional benefits. It could be eco-friendly or some other additional benefits. It was not just the cheap car or the low-cost car that they were looking at. Wherein there are other automobile makers from Germany and Japan who were able to cash in that situation. So what they're trying to say is, actually it is an adversity, if you look at it. So a war has, terrorism attack has happened and the sentiment is not good, everything is not positive there. At that situation, the kind of mindset is not positive definitely. And the businesses could have capitalized in a different way. However, they could not. That is one point they make. And then they go to the, with these kinds of specific aspects, specific cases or specific situations they keep quoting in between. And then they drive us to the principles. Now, principle 1 happens to be the seeking opportunity in adversity, wherein they take the example of See, I like, there have been about 8 and 9 examples. It's not right on me to give like a lesson or some kind of a class. What I wanted to share from this is the thing that I like. For example, Paritantra. Paritantra happens to be a training program that happened in SBI. They take the example of SBI, wherein the situation is people cannot be given pink slips, they cannot be taken out. The right people cannot be taken in. That is, once they get into it's a government thing, government has a control on it, and the people cannot just move out of it, neither can new people come. Now, this being the limitation, it's a very serious limitation. So, what would you do to improve the output of the employees so that the customer satisfaction goes up? As you all know, this is a service industry, banking industry. So, naturally, we are talking about a limitation again here, and how O.P. Bhatt, how Mr. O.P. Bhatt, he has been the former chairman of SBI in 2006. He hit upon an idea as to get a very slow change, but in a very steadfast manner, as to how the thinking can be influenced with the current employees. Like I said, you cannot get new employees, you cannot take away the existing ones. So at this point, he has introduced a training program called Paritantra, and one example which is quoted here in this book is Hyderabad. One person has very clearly shown, one Mr. Shivkumar is a local head of SBI operations in the Hyderabad branch. He has taken up 4 people, it's a 4-member team, and he started handling about 7,000 complaints. And the way he has done it is SMS based. Again, look at the cost. It's not about increasing the cost. Again, within the same cost, what he has tried to do and how that has actually affected the employee satisfaction. And not just the employee satisfaction, empowering the employees within the limitations. The customers eventually have started responding very well, and the revenues have definitely increased. That is how this first example is about. And then another example is about Kanak Das. Kanak Das happens to be a person from Assam. He was riding his bicycle all the time, and they were very bumpy roads. So he didn't know what to do, because he had to go with his business. So within the limitation, what he did is he altered or rather re-engineered his bicycle in such a way that it's very interesting. I can just read these 2 lines. By converting the energy in the shock absorbers into a propulsive force, this bicycle can run faster on bumpy roads. That means the moment the front wheel hits the bump, it will usually brakes. When we apply brakes, that creates energy. Here he is talking about shock absorbers creating energy. So that way, this man has re-engineered his bicycle, and it has been so a very well-known example eventually later for people that Professor Anil Gupta has helped him to patent this kind of cycle. So this is again a Jugaad innovation. Like this, it is an adversity where they are trying to see the opportunity and go ahead with things. Then do more with less, wherein Zongzing Medical, actually they sell X-ray equipment. Digital direct X-rays equipment is the technology, and one of their they weren't using it very efficiently. So this is supposed to be one of the examples from China. Again, when I am saying it's not just India-based examples, they have taken examples from other countries also. So they re-engineered one of the partner. So what they did is a Chinese medical device maker borrowed digital direct X-ray equipment technology from its parent company, that is Beijing Aerospace. They have borrowed it from there, they altered it, and they started giving X-rays for the chest X-rays for a very less amount. So almost like such a huge margin, 75 lakhs worth thing, they have reduced it to 10 lakhs. So that huge margin has made a difference, wherein the other players like GE had to cut down its cost by 50%, and Philips had to leave the market at that point of time because of this strategy. These people, by cutting down these costs, by borrowing the existing technology and changing it, altering it to their need, they were able to capture about 50% of Chinese market. This is another example where he talks about do more with less. And Colgate Palmolive, they have in India, they have started sending in some of the sales. In some of the remote villages, sale is very difficult because people still don't come to the shops. So they have introduced the concept of sending the products on cycles. It's almost like the logistics has been thought about in a different way. They are using the logistics, the existing ones, what they thought is they'll extend it to the last part of the whoever consumer is there in the village. Maybe he could not access the shop, that he was not able to buy this product. Why not this particular product go there to him so that the sale happens? At the end of the day, it's all about profits. And any company, if they are not able to sell the product, then it's like the mountain and the story we have with regards to yes, the mountain goes to the Navi. It's like that. It's such a huge company. As you look at it, they have found out a way to reach the customer. Then think and act flexibly. Google, a very interesting example this is. They talk about Google talking with the 70-20-10 model of work. 70% of Google's time is given to wherein the employees are working on their core job. 20% of the time they will be working on the related jobs to their core job, and 10% to unrelated jobs. Here, the reason why they have taken this example is think and act flexibly. Unless you create an ambience in your company, unless you create an ambience wherein people can think freely and act more flexibly, people may not be able to come up with innovative ideas. So, in that context, the Google example is, they say Google Maps and there's, Google Maps and Google Mail has been developed as a part of this 70-20-10 model. It is quoted that while the persons were given their time, core time of 70%, 20% of the time when they were working on related services, they were able to come up with these two ideas, Google Mail and Google Maps, which is a very huge, which is a change maker, as you know, in itself. So he talks about how flexible and positive the environment should be for the people to think. Keep it simple, another principle, wherein they talk about, there's a lady who's a pediatrician. This is just an example. I would not want to just talk about the principles, otherwise it might look a little dry. That is the reason I have just taken a simple example with each of the principles so that it will sync with you. And this lady, her name is Dr.J.Radhika. She's a wooden incubator. She has developed a wooden incubator parallel to the high-cost incubators which were there. And then, being a pediatrician, she has realized that there is a very interesting statistic. 39 out of 1,000 children are having infant mortality. So, in order to decrease the infant mortality rate, she has come up with an immediate solution where a low-cost incubator can be replaced with the high-end ones where people are not able to afford it. That way, there was a very huge difference in the kind of lives that she was able to save. So, this is keep it simple And similarly, include marginal groups. Just two more principles, and then with that I can conclude this. Including marginal groups, a wonderful example that I have found is people who have retired. Once they retire, their ideas or their experience, normally what happens is it just stays with certain groups. Most of the time, if they are not coming out of the house, or if they are being very secluded, they want to share with their family or with their close ones, and there it ends. But here we have a very interesting concept where they say they are grey matter. Though they have aged gracefully, the grey matter is something that has to be capitalized on, because that is something which will work like an investment. It's all knowledge. And like Sunil was talking about, sometimes you read one page, you can debate about it for many days. Some of the content that is given in certain things is so deep. So here we are talking about these elderly people sharing their knowledge and how that has been capitalized. Procter and Gamble, LED and Boeing have come together, and yourencore.com. It's called yourencore.com, where people who are retired scientists, engineers and all come together, make a think tank, and then their thoughts are given to the other stakeholders whoever are connected there, or perhaps whichever is relevant to take it. So creating such a pool itself is the most important point. So he's talking about include the marginal groups, where like people who you have not thought about. Everybody talks about youngsters, everybody talks about people who are working, but there's a lot of other places where you can actually capitalize it and make it into advantage to your business. And the last of all is, of course, follow your heart. See, first example that literally comes after this line is, rather this phrase is, Dr. Devi Shetty. Narayana Vidyalaya, which is based in Bangalore. How his passion towards serving the society has driven him to look at low-cost ways in which, because we have eminent doctors here with us who have been into administrative positions, so they will actually be in a position to comment better about how the business behind this goes. Because the costing and all those things are not easy. We understand that they are doctors, we understand they are working, but when it comes to running a hospital, it is definitely a Herculean task. So this great person has taken upon him to serve many people by reducing the cost of heart operations to a very minimal level that can be affordable by most of the people. So follow your heart is of course the last principle. Now all these principles given, the book at the end drives at the point that large MNCs need to understand that we are all going into limited resources kind of situations, because climate change and all those things that are definitely very important points to think about for the future generations. The authors suggest that Jugaad thinking or Jugaad way of strategizing your businesses is a very important step, a pivotal step, because just because you are in very huge, perhaps in the developed countries, doesn't mean that you can just go with very high-end R&D costs and all those things. You can always look at Jugaad thinking as a complement. They say that you can add this. They're not trying to debate, stop all those things. All they're trying to say is you need to add this and supplement this along with whatever is going on existing, because this is more or less a bottoms-up approach in R&D. Normally we have the top-down approach where the intellectual people sit there in the R&D labs, and then not many people have access to them. So that knowledge is disseminated to all the others for various resources, etc., product development, whatever it is. So here we have a way in which all the economies which are going through turbulence, because turbulence I'm using because whether it's Indian economy or Chinese, all these are supposed to be competing. And people are looking at these as very happening hubs for innovation. And now if you look at it contemporary, 2019-18, there have been certain, you can say, surveys that were done by World Intellectual Property Organization, WIPO, which is from the UN agency. And then they have come up with Global Innovation Index, which actually is from INSEAD and Cornell, and they have about 80 plus factors on which they see what is the best way in which your innovations can be assessed, etc., for the countries. So now it is very contemporary that we look at this kind of thinking, and we should not try to see this word as if it's a cheap innovation, because unfortunately there is a mindset. I don't understand how, because the business people, when they do business, they want always cost-effective ones. But outside, when you look at it, it's a very luxurious way. I don't understand this dichotomy. In India, we still have such a situation, or maybe everywhere else. But here, they blatantly put it across, saying that when you're actually trying to optimize on your costs, be very clear on that and be authentic about whatever you have taken up, because it is for your good. So this is the long and short of the book, and like I said, it's full of very many examples. The ones that I have taken have been very few. Just 6 principles I have gone with the book and the structure of the book. It is not any fiction, so I need to go with the facts. I had to take the reference here. So that I don't go wrong. So this is the review that I have about Jugaad innovation. So that's it. Sure.
One criticism about this book is,
sure.
This is why they review.
Absolutely.
One criticism is, we have 186 pages.
Sure.
So they say that
agree.
Too many examples of this data.
Absolutely.
That is one problem.
Sure.
And the last point is, your last sentence. You said no cost. There is a management say. The cost is long forgotten, quality lives forever.
Sure. So that is one point Manish ji has indicated. I have come across people, like I said, I indicated this point earlier, it is not for everyone, but yes, there has been a repetition. This is one criticism which is there in the book, which I must agree, because it's long. It's quite long in terms of number of pages it runs into, etc. But one needs to draw why they want what example for, etc. Because it's a pool of huge information. You are absolutely right. It's a large pool of information from which we need to take our pick. Definitely, that's a limitation. Anybody else? Category is not new. But then the product is completely new in the sense of technology. You can say disruptive technologies is a more perfect fit for the word, because you're talking about innovation in a completely, you can say,
process altogether by retaining the...
no, absolutely. See, that it completely challenges the existing things to come, and then it questions everything that you already have, and still it exists on itself, all by itself. So, new product development, yes. Product modification, yes. Because when he's talking about that, the energy that he is trying to generate from the back tires, it is already an existing product. And they try to modify it. So, depending upon the situation, the strategies have been made. So, that's it. I hope I answered your questions. Thank you. Yeah,
working in construction, power plants and all. Almost 2-3 years, I am thinking, this is something like a specialist class of technology. Because whenever something is not happening or equipment is not there, somebody is not come to side, every time I hear is कुछ जुगाड़ है क्या? So we are just thinking what is this jugaad, what is this jugaad, and this is one of the word I hear maybe 1,000 times or more. That's if there is no jugaad, there is no construction industry especially, because operations, maintenance or process plant, everything is existing. So whatever they need for day-to-day operation they have. But when we go for some new project, we are always lack of shortage of resources. That is where this word comes or technology comes. And specialty of this is research lab we have everything, but Jugaad comes where there is nothing to start with. And this is very nice thing. Thank you.
Final words are yes, process related technologies is what is mentioned also in the book. So that's the reason why at the very beginning itself I said it's across industries. So it's more about the strategic kind of thinking. It kind of enables a person to understand across industries how Jugaad can be applied and over the larger economies. So that's the reason why I was specific about the audience also. With that I will conclude. And it has been a wonderful session with all of you. Just a small announcement for tomorrow. We have our first Telugu reviews, exclusive Telugu reviews from tomorrow, and we are very happy to announce this. And first 3 reviews will be given by Ramasundari Garu, Sriram Chandramurthy Garu, and Jayashree Garu. The details will be sent to you tomorrow 6:30 onwards. We have the same timing. I hope to see as many CCBNs here, because we as a family we would want to reunite even in the new venture with service vertical that we are expanding. So it's a pleasure to invite all of you all. And if you think there is anyone who is keen and who has this love for our mother tongue Telugu, please kindly invite them. As you all know, we want only people who are passionate about this particular books or the concept of book reviews. We would appreciate people who are more passionate. That's all. Thank you so much.
Whenever something is not happening or equipment is not there, somebody is not come to side, every time I hear is कुछ जुगाड़ है क्या? So we are just thinking what is this jugaad, what is this jugaad, and this is one of the word I hear maybe 1,000 times or more. Because if there is no jugaad, there is no construction industry especially, because operations, maintenance or process plant, everything is existing. So whatever they need for day-to-day operation they have. But when we go for some new project, we are always lack of shortage of resources. That is where this word comes or technology comes. And specialty of this is research lab we have everything, but Jugaad comes where there is nothing to start with. And this is very nice thing. Thank you.
Final words are yes, process related technologies is what is mentioned also in the book. So that's the reason why at the very beginning itself I said it's across industries. So it's more about the strategic kind of thinking. It kind of enables a person to understand across industries how Jugaad can be applied and over the larger economies. So that's the reason why I was specific about the audience also. With that I will conclude. And it has been a wonderful session with all of you. Just a small announcement for tomorrow. We have our first Telugu reviews, exclusive Telugu reviews from tomorrow, and we are very happy to announce this. And first 3 reviews will be given by Ramasundari Garu, Sriram Chandramurthy Garu, and Jayashree Garu. The details will be sent to you tomorrow 6:30 onwards. We have the same timing. I hope to see as many CCBNs here, because we as a family we would want to reunite even in the new venture with service vertical that we are expanding. So it's a pleasure to invite all of you all. And if you think there is anyone who is keen and who has this love for our mother tongue Telugu, please kindly invite them. As you all know, we want only people who are passionate about this particular books or the concept of book reviews. We would appreciate people who are more passionate. That's all. Thank you so much.